Elias Vance ran his cloth over the ornate brass railing, his movements precise, practiced. Dust motes danced in the early morning light, a silent testament to the Grandview Apartments. Forgotten grandeur and the quiet dignity of the man who still cared. Once the Grandview Apartments had been the jewel of the city, its facade a testament to a bygone era of elegance. Now, chipped paint marred its intricate cornices. Loose tiles littered the once proud mosaic entrance, and the grand fountain lay dry, a hollow echo of its former glory. Elias walked its halls daily, his eyes missing nothing, every scuff, every crack, every faded memory. He was more than a janitor. He was the building's memory keeper, its silent, steadfast guardian. "Thank you, Elias, dear," Mrs. Albright murmured, her voice frail as he gently took her overflowing grocery bags. He offered a warm, reassuring smile. Mr. Henderson, passing by, paused. "They don't know what they have in you, Elias. This place would fall apart without you. Management certainly doesn't care." Elias merely nodded, deflecting the praise, his focus on Mrs. Albright. His silent care spoke louder than any words. Inside the cramped, chaotic maintenance closet, Mark leaned against a shelf, scrolling on his phone. "Pointless, all of it," he grumbled, not looking up. "Low pay, no appreciation. Why you bother with all this? Meticulous. Nonsense, Elias. I'll never know. You're just making more work for yourself." Elias, ignoring him, methodically arranged a stack of fresh towels, his movements precise, his gaze steady. He simply continued his task, a quiet rebuttal to Mark's endless cynicism. A week earlier, in a downtown office of glass and steel, Julian Thorne, the sharp new CEO, addressed his skeptical board. "This company has lost its soul," he declared. "We're disconnected from our properties, our people." He announced his plan: go undercover as a trainee, find the soul himself. The board exchanged bewildered glances, their pragmatism clashing with his radical vision. The chipped neon sign of the Grandview Apartments flickered, casting a weak glow onto the lobby floor as a mid-morning drizzle began outside. Elias Vance, wiping down the already gleaming brass railing, barely looked up when the general supervisor, Mr. Harrison, strode in, a young man trailing awkwardly behind him. "Vance, this is Julian, new trainee. Show him the ropes," Harrison mumbled, already halfway out the door, his disinterest palpable. Elias's steady gaze took in Julian's ill-fitting work shirt and hesitant posture. The young man seemed out of place, his eyes darting around the ornate, decaying lobby as if seeing it for the first time. Julian met Elias's eyes for a fleeting moment, a flicker of genuine, almost intense, curiosity shining through his feigned awkwardness. A long, dusty corridor stretched before them, leading to the rarely used West Wing. Elias handed Julian a broom, the bristles worn but clean. "It's not just about pushing dirt, Julian," Elias said, his voice calm and measured. "It's about understanding the space, guiding the dust, not just scattering it." He demonstrated, his movements fluid, almost graceful, sweeping with a rhythm that was both efficient and thorough. Julian, accustomed to keyboards, not brooms, fumbled, sending a cloud of dust motes dancing in a shaft of weak sunlight. As Elias patiently corrected his grip, Julian subtly pulled out his phone, pretending to check a message. But his camera lens was fixed on Elias's precise technique, capturing every nuanced movement. During their brief break, Elias didn't sit. Instead, he made his way to the Grandview's small, neglected garden area, where a struggling rose bush clung to life amidst overgrown weeds. Julian, observing from a discreet distance, watched as Elias gently pruned a yellowed leaf, talking softly to the plant as if it were a fragile tenant. "You just need a little encouragement, don't you?" Elias murmured, his calloused fingers tender. Julian realized this wasn't part of any job description, nor a task assigned. This deep, almost spiritual connection to nurturing something fragile, something forgotten, revealed a profound internal sense of purpose that transcended mere employment. Elias wasn't just working, he was caring. Later, in the cluttered, uninviting break room, Mark leaned back, feet propped up, a half-eaten sandwich in hand. "Don't know why Elias bothers," Mark grumbled to Julian, gesturing vaguely. "That man cleans like he's polishing the crown jewels. This company doesn't care." "You care too much. You burn out. And for what? Minimum wage. Julian nodded, feigning casual agreement, but his mind sharply contrasted Mark's bitterness with Elias's quiet pride. Just learn to cut corners, kid. Save yourself the trouble, Mark advised, oblivious to the subtle shift in Julian's resolve. The cynicism that permeated the air only solidified Julian's conviction that Elias was the exception, not the rule. Elias Vance sat in his cramped, cluttered office, the air thick, with a scent of disinfectant and old paper. A stark, impersonal memo lay open on his makeshift desk, its words a cold reminder of the world outside the Grandview's fading charm. Further budget cuts, it declared, detailing reductions in cleaning supplies and essential maintenance funds. He let out a slow, heavy sigh, the sound barely audible above the hum of the ancient fluorescent light. No time for despair. Immediately his mind began to work, a quiet engine of resilience. He started making a mental inventory of his dwindling supplies, already strategizing how to stretch every last drop of cleaner, every frayed brush. From the doorway, Julian Thorne watched, unseen. He noted the subtle furrow of Elias's brow, the way his fingers, though calloused from years of labor, traced the grim figures with a thoughtful precision. This wasn't just a janitor. This was a general, planning for battle with inadequate resources, yet unwavering in his commitment. A persistent drip echoed in Mrs. Albright's apartment, a mournful cadence to her tears. The ceiling above her armchair bore a widening water stain, an ugly, creeping testament to the building's neglect. She looked up at Elias, her voice trembling. "Mr. Vance, what are we going to do? This leak, they'll say the building's too far gone. They'll make us leave, won't they?" Elias knelt beside her, his hand gently on her arm. "Don't you worry, Mrs. Albright. I'll do everything I can." He spoke with calm conviction, though a quiet dread settled in his own chest, knowing the corporate response would be slow, if it came at all. Julian, observing from the hallway, felt a pang. He saw not just a leak, but the raw, human fear of displacement, amplified by corporate indifference. Elias, in that moment, wasn't just maintenance. He was a protector, a silent guardian of dignity in a world too quick to discard the old and the vulnerable. In the grungy back alley, the stale aroma of overflowing bins hung heavy in the air. Mark, leaning against a graffiti-scarred wall, lit a cigarette, his face twisted in a cynical sneer. "Look, new guy," he exhaled, smoke curling into the dim light. "You gotta learn to look the other way. See that busted window on the 3rd floor? Not our problem. You care too much. Like Elias, you just burn yourself out for nothing. No reward, just more work." Julian nodded, feigning casual agreement, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. But inside, a quiet fury simmered. Mark's words, meant to corrupt, only solidified Julian's resolve. This wasn't just about cutting corners. It was about a rotting culture, a pervasive apathy that saw people and properties as disposable. He made a mental note, the contrast between Mark's bitter resignation and Elias's quiet pride stark and undeniable. The late afternoon light cast long shadows across the Grandview lobby, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Elias paused near the old plumbing access panel, a faint metallic tang on the air, subtly mingling with the building's usual dampness. He sniffed, a flicker of concern crossing his features. "Got a feeling," he muttered to himself, a premonition that only years of intimate knowledge of the Grandview could provide. He walked to his cart, meticulously checking his mops, buckets, and even a heavy-duty wrench. Mark had scoffed earlier about hoarding equipment, but Elias knew better. Julian watched Elias's movements, precise and unhurried. He recognized the quiet competence, the almost prescient preparedness that spoke volumes of experience and genuine care. A storm was brewing, not just in the building's pipes, but within the company itself, and Elias, unknowingly, was ready for it. The uneasy quiet of the Grandview lobby shattered with a guttural groan from the old building's plumbing. Before Elias could react, a pipe behind the ornate, forgotten fountain burst with a violent spray. Greasy, foul-smelling liquid, thick with years of neglect, spewed across the recently polished marble floor, creating an instant, disgusting slick. Mark, who had been lazily leaning against a wall, shrieked, flailing his arms as he slipped in the muck, making the spreading mess even worse. Julian, startled, stumbled back, the stench overwhelming. But Elias, despite the sudden, shocking chaos, remained rooted. His eyes, though wide for a moment, quickly narrowed, his mind already assessing the disaster, clear and focused amidst the putrid deluge. "Mark, get the wet vac!" "Julian, the main shut-off valve is behind the boiler room door, quickly!" Elias's voice, usually a quiet murmur, now resonated with decisive authority. He didn't yell, but his commands cut through the gushing water and Mark's whimpers. Mark scrambled clumsily, still slipping, proving utterly useless. Julian, however, responded instantly, his earlier awkwardness replaced by a surge of adrenaline as he sprinted towards the boiler room. Elias, meanwhile, was already grabbing emergency-absorbent pads, his movements efficient and practiced, heading directly to the source of the rupture. Within moments, the gushing slowed to a trickle, then stopped as Julian, guided by Elias's earlier training, successfully located and turned the valve. The immediate crisis was averted, but the lobby remained a slick, stinking nightmare. Hours later, the lobby was still a battlefield of filth, but Elias worked with a steady, almost reverent pace. "You don't just wipe it, Julian," he explained softly, demonstrating with a specialized brush. "You lift it. This grime, it's not just dirt. It's years of neglect, of people not caring." He showed Julian the precise chemical mixture, the angle of the scrub, the importance of rinsing until the water ran clear. Julian, no longer hesitant, mirrored Elias's every move, his initial revulsion replaced by a profound respect. Elias paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "My father, he used to say, son, no honest labor is beneath you. The dignity ain't in the job title, it's in how you do it." Julian looked at Elias, then at his own hands, calloused and stained, understanding that he was learning far more than just how to clean a spill. The Grandview lobby, late that night, gleamed under the soft restored lights. Not a trace of the putrid spill remained. Julian stood alone, a silent sentinel in the immaculate space. Elias's words echoed in his mind. Dignity ain't in the job title, it's in how you do it. He saw it now, clear as the polished brass railing. Elias wasn't merely a janitor. He was the building's guardian, its historian, its living, breathing soul. His integrity, his commitment to unseen perfection, was the true foundation the company lacked. Julian pulled out his phone, its screen glowing in the quiet. His fingers flew across the keypad, sending a rapid series of encrypted messages. The plan, long simmering, was now in motion. The company and Elias Vance were about to be radically redefined. Morning light, crisp and clean, filtered through the Grandview's newly spotless windows. Elias, with a rare, subtle smile, surveyed the pristine lobby. A quiet satisfaction settled deep in his chest. The building had been restored, its dignity reclaimed. Julian, still in his trainee clothes, emerged from the staff entrance. He met Elias's gaze across the polished expanse. There was no awkwardness now, no feigned ineptitude, only a deep, knowing respect shone in Julian's eyes. He offered a slight nod, a gesture that felt different, heavier than any before. Elias returned it, a flicker of understanding passing between them. A calm had settled, but beneath it, a powerful current of anticipation flowed, a quiet prelude to the storm that was about to break. The sterile fluorescent lights of the corporate boardroom hummed, casting a cold, unforgiving glow on the polished mahogany table. Elias Vance sat stiffly, his worn work jacket a stark contrast to the tailored suits of the executives flanking Mr. Harrison. He felt utterly out of place, like a misplaced wrench in a finely tuned machine. Harrison, a man whose smile rarely reached his eyes, cleared his throat, a sound that grated on Elias's nerves. He held up a thick binder. "Mr. Vance, this report details significant inefficiencies and overexpenditure directly attributable to your unconventional methods at the Grandview property." In the back, Mark, Elias's cynical co-worker, watched with a smug, knowing smirk, a silent prediction of Elias's impending dismissal. Julian Thorne, still in his ill-fitting trainee clothes, sat quietly beside Mark, his gaze unreadable, but a faint tension in his shoulders. Mr. Harrison leaned forward, his voice a smooth, corporate drone. "Your overdiligence, while perhaps well-intentioned, is a financial burden. We propose either immediate termination or severe cutbacks to your resources and responsibilities." Elias's jaw tightened. He felt a pang of hurt, a deep ache that his dedication was being twisted into a fault. Yet, he held his ground, his gaze steady. "Sir, thoroughness isn't a burden. It's an investment. It ensures tenant safety, prevents larger, costlier repairs, and maintains the property value, particularly in a historic building like the Grandview." His voice was quiet, principled, a calm counterpoint to the dismissive corporate jargon. Julian, observing from the back, shifted uncomfortably. He saw the injustice, the blatant disregard for true value, and a storm began to brew behind his carefully constructed, trainee facade. Just as Harrison prepared another cutting remark, Julian Thorne stood abruptly. The scraping of his chair echoed in the suddenly silent room. His voice, now commanding and clear, sliced through the corporate air, completely shedding the hesitant, trainee persona. "That will be quite enough, Mr. Harrison." Every head in the room snapped towards him. Julian produced a sleek silver card from his pocket, laying it flat on the table. "Julian Thorne, new owner of Thorne Enterprises, and as of this morning, your immediate superior." Gasps rippled through the executives. Harrison's face went white, his mouth agape. Mark, in the back, visibly paled, slumping further in his chair. Elias, who had been bracing for the worst, stared at Julian, a tidal wave of stunned disbelief washing over him. The room felt frozen, the air thick with shock, and the electric charge of a power dynamic utterly reversed. Julian's eyes, now sharp and authoritative, swept over the stunned faces. He picked up Harrison's report, tossing it dismissively onto the table. "This report is a fabrication. Inefficiencies? I've seen firsthand Elias's meticulous work, his dedication, his resourcefulness in the face of your deliberate neglect." He turned to Mark. "And you, Mark, your laziness, your cynicism, your efforts to corrupt honest work. I've witnessed it all." Julian's voice was a cutting indictment. "Mr. Harrison, your employment with Thorne Enterprises is terminated, effective immediately. As for you, Mark, you're reassigned to our most remote, undesirable property in the farthest corner of the state. You'll find plenty of corners to cut there, but no one to care." The swiftness of the justice was breathtaking, a deep, satisfying catharsis that rippled through the room. Harrison stammered, Mark slumped, but Julian's decision was final. Julian then turned, his gaze softening as it met Elias's disbelieving eyes. He walked around the table, stopping directly in front of the janitor. "Elias Vance, your integrity, your meticulousness, the sheer soul you bring to every task. These are not inefficiencies. They are the bedrock of what this company should be." He extended a hand. "I'm offering you the position of head of operations for all Grandview properties. Your task will be to instill your values, your dignity in every detail, across our entire portfolio. We need your leadership, Elias." Elias stood, overwhelmed. A mix of shock, profound gratitude, and a single, unbidden tear welled in his eyes. He slowly reached out, his hand trembling slightly as he grasped Julian's. The board members watched intently, witnessing not just a promotion, but a profound shift in corporate philosophy. A few months later, the Grandview Apartments lobby buzzed with a newfound vitality. Sunlight streamed through sparkling windows, illuminating freshly polished marble and newly hung, elegant art. Elias, now in a crisp, tailored uniform that still felt slightly unfamiliar, moved with a quiet authority, overseeing a team of diligent new cleaning staff. He offered instructions, his voice calm and firm, imbued with the wisdom of experience. Mrs. Albright and Mr. Henderson, their faces beaming, greeted him with genuine warmth as they passed through the revitalized space. Julian Thorne, on a visit, observed the transformation from a quiet corner, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. He had sought the soul of his company, and in Elias, he had not only found it but empowered it to bloom, changing not just a building but a community. Later that afternoon, Elias and Julian stood together in the Grandview's revitalized garden. The once struggling rosebush now thrived, its vibrant blooms a testament to care and attention. Elias gently touched a velvety petal. Funny, isn't it? It just needed a little care and attention, like everything else. The right soil, consistent water, and someone who believed it could bloom. Julian nodded, his gaze fixed on the flourishing plant. He understood the deeper metaphor, a silent acknowledgement of their shared vision. It wasn't just about a building, or a company, or even a rose bush. It was about the dignity in every detail, the unseen value of honest labor, and the profound impact of integrity when given the chance to rise. Elias Vance sat at the polished obsidian desk, the city skyline, a glittering tapestry outside the panoramic window. The tailored suit felt foreign, a second skin of responsibility he was still learning to inhabit. This was Julian Thorne's office, now Dabitz's Asoy domain as head of operations. He felt a familiar knot of determination, mixed with a daunting sense of the task ahead. Julian, leaning casually against the window, a genuine smile replacing his earlier sternness, offered guidance. Elias, your role isn't just to manage. It's to bring your Grandview philosophy to every property we own. That meticulous care, that dignity you instilled in every detail, that's the soul we've been missing. Elias nodded, already outlining plans in his mind. Staff training modules focused on the asterisk Y of their work, new quality control checks that prioritized respect over speed. He was ready. Weeks later, in a newly renovated training room at the Grandview, Elias stood before a diverse group of new cleaning staff. He wasn't just teaching them to scrub, he was teaching them to asterisk C. This isn't just a floor, he explained, pointing to a diagram of the Grandview's historic lobby. This is where Mrs. Albright celebrated her 80th birthday. This is where children played decades ago. When we clean, we respect the space, we respect the history, and most importantly, we respect the people who call it home. Initially, a few faces held skepticism, but as Elias shared anecdotes about the building's past and the quiet honor of their work, their expressions shifted. Questions began to flow, engaged and eager, as they absorbed not just techniques, but a philosophy. The Elias effect spread like wildfire through Thorne Enterprises. A montage flashed across the screen. Sparkling lobbies in once-neglected downtown high-rises, sun-drenched communal gardens in suburban complexes, and smiling tenants chatting with attentive staff. At a property across town, a former cynical manager, once a staunch advocate for cutting corners, was now seen meticulously adjusting a welcome mat, a newfound pride in his posture. Julian Thorne, in his sleek corporate office, reviewed a stack of glowing tenant satisfaction reports and employee feedback. He smiled, a deep satisfaction settling in his chest. His decision to trust Elias had not only saved his company, but profoundly transformed it. The soul he sought was now its beating heart. One afternoon, Elias found himself back in Mrs. Albright's apartment. The pervasive leak was gone, the water-stained wall pristine, a fresh coat of paint brightening the room. She embraced him, her frail hands clutching his arm. "Elias," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion, "it's not just the repairs. You made me feel like I mattered again. Like this place mattered." Elias felt a quiet surge of pride, a deeper fulfillment than any corporate title could provide. This, he realized, was the true measure of his success. Not the numbers on a ledger, but the light in Mrs. Albright's eyes, the restored dignity in her home. Later that evening in Julian's private office, the two men shared a moment of quiet camaraderie. Julian leaned back, a rare vulnerability in his gaze. "You know, Elias," he began, "when I started this, I was skeptical. I saw the numbers, the neglect, and thought it was just a business problem. You completely changed my perspective." He paused, then continued. "You taught me what, soul, truly means in business, in leadership. It's not about profit alone, it's about dignity, respect, and unseen effort." Elias listened, a wise, understanding glint in his eyes. He realized his quiet dedication, once dismissed as foolish, had resonated far beyond the walls of the Grandview, reaching the very top. A year passed, bringing with it a subtle but profound transformation. Elias Vance, now a respected figure within Thorne Enterprises, walked through the thriving Grandview Apartments. The ornate lobby gleamed, the brass railing from his first scene polished to a mirror shine, reflecting the vibrant life within. His philosophy, dignity in every detail, was no longer just a personal creed. It was the company's official motto, inscribed on elegant plaques and woven into every employee handbook. He paused by the very railing where his journey began, a subtle, contented smile playing on his lips. His work had truly mattered, creating a legacy built not on power, but on principle. From a quiet park bench overlooking the bustling city, Elias Vance watched the urban landscape, the Grandview Apartments standing tall and proud amongst the towers. He reflected on his journey, on the countless individuals who, like him, worked tirelessly in the shadows, their efforts often unseen, undervalued. He understood now that society wasn't built solely by grand architects and powerful CEOs, but by the unseen architects, the janitors, the sanitation workers, the quiet caretakers. A profound sense of peaceful fulfillment washed over him. His contribution, though once overlooked, had helped build something meaningful, something lasting. Julian and Elias, now an inseparable force, walked through a newly acquired, neglected building across town. Dust motes danced in the sparse sunlight, highlighting chipped paint and sagging ceilings. "Structural integrity is good," Elias observed, running a hand along a crumbling wall. "But the spirit is broken. We start by showing respect to this space, and the people in it." He pointed out a specific issue, suggesting a dignified, long-term solution. Julian listened intently, his trust in Elias's judgment absolute. Their shared vision, born in the quiet dignity of a janitor, was now a seed of change, ready to blossom across the city. At a packed community meeting, Elias and Julian sat side by side, discussing plans for local development. Residents, once wary of corporate intentions, now expressed heartfelt gratitude for Thorne Enterprises' new approach, respectful management, fair treatment of staff, and a genuine commitment to the neighborhood. Though still uncomfortable in the spotlight, Elias rose to speak. His voice, calm and firm, resonated through the hall. "Community is built on trust," he stated, "and trust is built on dignity. We believe every person and every place deserves both." Julian watched, a proud smile on his face, witnessing the ripple effect of true leadership. In his modest but impeccably kept apartment, Elias Vance finally relaxed. He sat in his favorite armchair, a well-worn book open on his lap, a quiet contentment etched on his face. His gaze drifted to a framed photograph on a nearby table, his father in his own work uniform, a proud, determined look in his eyes. Elias smiled, a subtle, peaceful acknowledgement of the legacy of dignity he now carried forward. He had always known the value of his work, but now the world knew it too. A man at peace with his journey and the profound impact he had made. Elias Vance, voiceover. Dignity in every detail, respect for the space, respect for the people. The wisdom of Elias Vance echoed through the hallways of Thorne Enterprises. A montage showed new staff, inspired by his teachings, meticulously cleaning. A young trainee, wiping down a window, recited to a colleague, "Mr. Vance always says, the cleanest surface is a reflection of the clearest conscience." His philosophy had become more than just a motto. It was an ingrained cultural shift, a testament to the enduring power of his principles. The camera panned across a bustling city street, a tapestry of diverse faces, each going about their daily tasks. A sanitation worker carefully empties a bin. A nurse patiently comforts a child. A teacher meticulously organizes her classroom. The narrator's voice, warm and reflective, spoke of the countless unseen individuals who, with quiet dignity, perform the essential, often overlooked, work that truly builds and maintains our society. True value, it emphasized, often lies in the consistent, principled effort that goes unnoticed, until a discerning eye chooses to see it. Does society truly value dignity in all work, or only when it's revealed by a hidden hand? Let us know in the comments below. Share your own stories of undervalued work or unexpected recognition. Your experiences help us build a community that celebrates the power of integrity. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us bring you more stories that remind us intellect and integrity are the most powerful weapons against injustice.